All right, we're ready to get started with Maseches Shabbos Kuf Tes Zayin. And we're going to be continuing our conversation about what we can save in a fire, though with some slight deviations. But before we do that, we're going to interject with what is itself an interjection, and that is the psukim in Parshas B'Ha'aloscha of Vayhi Soah Aharon. Take a look at the very bottom two lines on Daf Kuf Tes Vav Amud Beis, and let's jump right in. Tanu Rabbanon, Vayhi Soah Aharon V'Yomer Moshe. That pasuk, as we all know, Parsha Zo, Asalo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Simanios Milamala Ulim Mata. We know that there are simanios, that there are some indicators. The Gemara doesn't say what they are. We know from the Rishonim what they are, and if anyone's ever laned, we know what they are, which is that they're backwards nunim. So that it kind of is very weird. Whoever would have thought that an upside-down letter belongs in the Torah. We also have a broken vav in the Torah, and we have a small aleph in Vayikra. We have a lot of weird things in the Torah from a ksav perspective. But here, this is particularly strange. There's no other precedent like this, whereby we have letters that are mamish upside down and facing the wrong way. And in between these two bookends is going to be the psukim of Vayhi Soah Aharon. So why is this the case? Remember, this is in the times of the Tanoim. They're talking Lomar to teach us what? Turning to the top of Kuf Tes Zayin to let us know that it's in the wrong place. That's the sheet of the Tanakama. Rabbi Omer lo min Hashem hu zeh. That's not correct. It's not in the wrong place. Rather, what's going on? El mipnei shesefer chashuv hu b'ifnei atzmo. That which exists between the two simonios, between these two nuns, has the status of its own sefer. We say all the time, there's the 5 books of Moses. It's not true. There's more. There's actually 7, as we will see shortly. Now, Keman Azla. Ha de Amar Reb Shmuel bar Nachmeni. It should be Nachmeni. The Gemara corrects it here. Keman Azla Ha de Amar Reb Shmuel bar Nachmeni Amar Reb Yonasan Chatzav Amudeh Shiva. That there are 7 pillars. Elu Shiva Sifrei Torah. These are the 7 Sifrei Torah, the 7 Sfarim within a Torah. So you have Sefer Breshis, and you have Shemos, and you have Vayikra, and then in Bamidbar you have 3 parts. You have the first part of Vayikra up till Vayhi Soah. You have Vayhi Soah, and then you have the rest of Bamidbar, and then you have Sefer Dvarim. And there you go. There you have your 7. That's how it breaks down. So basically, the Sefer of Bamidbar is broken into 3 parts. Up to Vayhi Soah, and after Vayhi Soah. And that's what the Gemara here says is based on the pasuk of Chatzva Amudeh Shiva, Elu Shiva Sifrei Torah. Kiman, who is this? Like Rabbi, that fits perfectly with the Shita of Rabbi, who 3 lines above says that it's a Sefer Bifnei Atzmo. A Sefer Chashuv hu Bifnei Atzmo, that it has the halachic status. It's as Chashuv as a Sefer in its own right. Next, Man Tana de Pali Galei de Rabbi, who is the Tanakama of that Mishnah, who says that it's just in the wrong place, and the Simonios are just indicating that it's in the wrong place. Whose Shita is that? So that says the Gemara is the Shita of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Tanya, the Brisa teaches us. Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Asida Parsha Zusha Te'aker Mikan V'Tikasib B'Makoma. I don't know if this is supposed to be done derech meis. I'm not sure how it's supposed to work out. But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says that in the future, this parsha of Vayhi Soah is going to transport itself from where it is to the right place. Why was it written specifically here? Because there were a number of bad things that happened in Sefer Bamidbar, and we wanted to kind of break up all of the bad news with a little bit of good news. So what were these Puranus? Says the Gemara, Puranus Shnia, the second thing, Maihi. What was the bad thing that followed? Vayhi Ha'am Kimis Onanim, the Jewish people were complaining. What about Puranus Rishona? What was the first thing that they did that was bad? Har Hashem, they traveled away from Har Hashem. They walked away from the derech a little bit off the derech. So that was the first Puranas. So that's according to the Tanakama in the initial source in the Tanaim we saw here, and now quoting in the name of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel here on the top of the Kuf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, that's the sheet of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, who was the Tanakama, that it's going to be moved at some point. It's going to be moved, but it was only here in order to interrupt that which was not pleasant. Where is the right place to put this parsha? It belongs by the discussion of all of the Degalim, where the Jewish people traveled, and when they encamped in a very specific way. So that would be the appropriate place to put this parsha. About a quarter of the way down on Kuf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. What about the margins? Shall Sefer Torah. We've been speaking about so far the actual text itself. Now, as you know, if you've looked in a Sefer Torah, there's margin all over the place and measured amounts of margin. Now, in between each parsha, there's a number. In between each sefer, there's a number of lines at the top of every page, at the bottom of the page, and right and left. It's a full center justified type of thing where it's a perfect rectangle of text in the middle with white all around it. So what about the Gilyonim? Do we save that in a fire? So that's the Gemara's question. Which one is it? Do we save it or do we not save it? Says the Gemara. Well, let's see if we can learn from something we've already learned. We learned yesterday, Tashma, Sefer Torah Shabala. If there's a Sefer Torah that gets worn out, if you can find throughout the entire text of the Sefer Torah 85 good letters, so then we say Matzilin. And if not, so then we say that you're not allowed to save the Sefer Torah. Nebuch, there's only 83 letters, whatever the number is, below 85. Says Gemara, but why would you not save it? Maybe we should have argued that because there's margin that is that's still intact, maybe we should have said that that's sufficient. So it says the Gemara, by virtue of the fact that that doesn't happen, we know that that's not the case. Answers the Gemara, Bala Shiny. It's different when a Sefer Torah is wearing down, then the status of that is not going to be exactly the same as this case. Here we're talking about a healthy piece of gilyon. It's not withered. And this Rashi says explicitly, Dibur Hamaschil Bala Shani, 2 inches above where we are. Dibur Hamaschil Bala Shani Dekevan Shebala Afa Gilyon Batel. If the Sefer Torah itself is going to be batel down to the point that it has less than 85 good letters, then the margins are also batel. What is the question of our Gemara? We're dealing here with the letters where like they mamish cracked off and fell off. It's not like it's worn out and the parchment is starting to fall apart. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is very simple. Some of the letters cracked off, a lot of the letters cracked off, but the parchment is otherwise in good shape. That's the question of the Gemara. So you can't learn anything from this particular approach. Next, 1/3 of the way down, 5 lines before the wide lines. Tashma Sefer Torah Nimchak. All the letters were erased. And now, before we were talking about Bala, if it got withered and it started to get old and age and fall apart. Here we're saying differently, it was erased. You took a scalpel, you scraped off all the letters. So if you do that, so if there are 85 letters in Matzilin, being lab in Matzilin. So asks the Gemara the same question as Rabbi. Why would you say that? If the margins are chashuv, tepuk lemishum gilyon didei. We should have said that if the margins are chashuv, then we should have said Matzilin even if there's less than 85 letters. Answers the Gemara, makom haksav, the place, the text, the space where the letters actually belong, lo kami baili. That's not the question I'm asking about. I'm asking about the margins on the sides, not the cloth under the letters. Makom haksav lo kami baili. Dichi kadosh agav ksav hu de kadosh. Azal ksav azal kedush say. So when the letters are there, it's holy. When the letters are not there, it's not holy. Ki kami baili. What was I talking about? First of the longest lines. Shel ma'ala v'shel mata, above and below the text. Shebein parsha la parsha, all of the breakpoints, the psuchas and the sumas when there's extra text available. Shebein daf matzah, shebein parsha la parsha, shebein daf daf, from page to page. Shebetchilas hasefer, shebesofa hasefer, all the extra places. So if that's true over there, v'tepuk le mishum hahu, we should have said that we learned out from over there that it's kadosh. Answers the Gemara, the guy is v'shadin. We're talking about a case where you cut out margin. So now it's not even part of the Sefer Torah anymore. You literally take scissors and you cut out one of the edges of the margins, and there's nothing on it at all. It's totally clear. Let's give a halacha l'maisa case. Let's say that a sofer has a square of parchment, and he's writing Breshis Bar Elokim, he's writing 3 columns worth of text. By the time he's done, he wants to trim off a little bit of the parchment because it's a little uneven on either side. He didn't space it perfectly. That cloth that he cuts off, what's the din? Does it have the din chashivas of a Sefer Torah or no? Do we say that it doesn't? So that would be this case of the guy is v'shadi. So it's the guy is v'shadi and he threw it. It's hard to tell. So basically we can't learn from this Marim Makom either. Let's try again. 3rd line, right middle of the page. Tashma hakol yonim shel mal v'shel mata shebein parsha leparsha shebein daf ledaf shebetchilas hasefer shebesof hasefer, and all of this extra gilyon, all of the margins which has no text on them at all but are normally part of a Sefer Torah. What's the din? Mitamenes hayodayim. We learned this din many months ago, where we said that the Chachamim in the Aliyah of Chananya made a gzera derabanan that a Sefer Torah is a shniya latuma. So if you're saying over here mitamenes hayodayim, doesn't that indicate that these parts of the Torah are Torah? Because the whole gzeira was that if you touch a Sefer Torah, your hands are shniyim latuma. So what the Gemara is saying here is that you touched one of the margins and your hands were still tameh, the haraya that there's kedusha to the parchment. So says the Gemara, Dilma agav Sefer Torah shiny. No, that doesn't really work. Let's see how Rashi explains these words. Dilma agav Sefer Torah shiny. Take a look at Rashi, Dibur Hamaschil. Dilma agav Sefer Torah, it's about 3 to 4 inches below where we are. Shalom nimcha ksav hasefer, all the text is still there, all the letters are still there. Elakulo kayam, v'zen naga bagil yonim. This is a perfectly, in perfect shape, Sefer Torah. Miboilan v'nimchak hasefer, what we were asking about was when the Sefer was nimchak v'ein kan kedusha. El mishum gilyon, sheshimsho ve'odo kayam. The only havamina that would have had kedusha is that it was at one point connected to a valuable Sefer Torah, but now there's no, so that's where the Gemara asks its question. So therefore, this case as well is not going to be a raya. Tashma, let's try again, Hagil Yonim, the margins, we don't know of what yet, Ve Sifrei Minim, and books of heretics that include Psukim, right? Emes is, whenever a person has sheker that's plausible, it always has some emes in it. So you may quote the pasuk of Bereshis bar l'kim es hashemayim ve'es haaretz and then write heresy afterwards. So we're talking about sifrei minim that have psukim in it. They may have Shem Hashem in it. So these two things, hagil yonim, the margins, with sifrei minim ein matzilim samim ne'azaleika. Ella, rather, how do we treat them? These margins and sifrei minim nisrafim b'mekoman hein va'as kerosein. They get burned. They get burned wherever they are. We don't move them on Shabbos. Not only do they get burned, but also all the Shemos of Hashem that they wrote, even Yod Kei Vav Kei Mamish. If you have Shem Hashem, the din is that by the Gilyonim, by the margins in this brisa, we have to see what they are. By the margins in this brisa and by the Sifrei Minin, so then we would say Ein Matzilin. So then ask the Gemara, my Lav Gilyonim to Sefer Torah? Doesn't it seem from the context of this source in the Tanaim that when it says Gil Yonim, that is talking about the margins of a Sefer Torah, because what does it say? Gil Yonim and Sifrei Minim, two different things, right? So the Gemara says it must be that we're talking about that, and what do we see? Ein Matzilin v'haraya, that there's no kedusha to the Gilyon, to the margins, and maybe we should say Ein Matzilin. Answers the Gemara, no, you misunderstood. When it says Hagil Yonim v'Sifrei Minim, here's what it really meant. Lo, Gil Yonim de Sifrei Minim. It's the margins of the heretical books. So then says the Gemara, wait 1 second. That doesn't work at all. We just said you burn the book. You don't burn the margin. You wouldn't assume that you burn the margins of the book as well. Asks the Gemara, Hashta, Sifrei Minin Gufaihu Ein Matzilin. We don't even save the books themselves. So now you're going to tell me that the margins of the books, you have to teach me Nachadin. Come on, it's obvious. If I could burn the books with Shem Hashem and the heretical books, I could burn the margins of the heretical books that has Shem Hashem. Gilyonin Niboya? Can't be. Answers the Gemara, Hachikamar v'Sifrei Minin Harehein Kigilyonim. No, it doesn't mean this and that. It means this is that. It means that the margins of a book are considered the same as the book itself with no distinctions. Now the Gemara continues quoting this and taking it a little further. Gufa. As we already began quoting, now we're going to quote the rest of this brisa that we just learned. I don't believe it's a brisa, actually. It's a Tosefta. So here's what it says. Gufa, Hagil Yonim, the Sifrei Minan, Ein Matzilim, Samim Ne'adleika. As we just saw, and we just translated as margins, which is equivalent to Sifrei Minan, books of heresy with Shem Hashem in them. Ein Matzilim Ne'adleika, we let them go up in flames. Now we see more of this Tosefta. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Bechol, during the week, Koderes Ha'azkaros Shebahen, I cut out the Shemos of Hashem and let the rest of the book burn. So let's say they quoted a pasuk by Daber Hashem and Moshe Lemor, and then they wrote heresy. So you'll take your scalpel and you'll cut out the Yud Kei Vav Kei and you'll bury it properly like Shemos, like you normally should. But the rest of the book burns. So that's the sheet of Rabbi Yossi, a chumrah for Shem Hashem. It says Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Tarfon, absolutely not. Akapeach es b'ni. Akapeach es b'ni is a phrase that you'll see throughout Shas, which is a reference to basically saying, I basically swear or I promise. It's an intense comment of like, on my own child kind of a line. So, akapeach es b'ni, shim yavo liyadi, shani esrov hosam v'esra azkaros shebahen. If the opportunity presented itself and I was in a house and there were Sifrei Min in there with Shem Hashem, I'd let the whole thing burn. She'afilu adam rodev acharav lahargo, the nachash ras lahakisho. If a man is running after someone to kill them, or a snake's running after them to lakisho, to bite them. Nichnas lebeis avodah zara ve'ein nichnas lebatein shel elu. Wow, you can sooner go into a base avodah zarah. You can sooner run into a church, assuming it's a base avodah zarah. Some posts can assume that a church is a base avodah zarah. You could sooner run into a base avodah zarah than get killed or get bitten by the snake. But these Jewish people who are writing the heresy don't go into their house. Very powerful idea from Rabbi Tarfon. Shehalalu, these people, makirin, the kofrin, the Jews who are writing the heretical stuff, they know what's going on. They know. They're kofrin though. But v'halalu, let's call them those who observe other religions, v'halalu, whoever they are, ein makirin, v'kofrin. They don't know the difference. They were raised in that home, so they grow up in that home. They were raised Christian, they grew up Christian. They grew up raised Muslim, they grew up Muslim. What do you expect them to do? That's how they were raised. So they're ein makirin v'kofrin. So that's what Rabbi Tarfon says, is that it's worse. The Sifrei Kodesh, quote unquote, the Sifrei Minus of that heretic, they go straight up in flames with Shem Hashem. They're worse conceptually. Their work is worse than going into a base avodah zarah. Very sharp idea, parenthetically, but rather importantly, if God forbid one is in a pressing circumstance where they're being chased, they are allowed to run into a church. That din is quoted in Shulchan Aruch. The Mari Makom is quoted here as well. I'll just say it out loud in case anybody wants to look it up. It is in Yoredeya, Siman Kufnan Zayin, Seif Gimel. Feel free to have a look there. Ve'aleim Akasiv Omer, 3/4 of the way down. Ve'achar Hadaz v'mezuzah Samta Zichronecha. You placed me, Hashem says to them, you placed me behind the door, you barely remember me. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, in agreement with the sheets of Rabbi Tarfon, the strong sheets of Rabbi Tarfon, Kabul Chomer. Uma la'asos shalom bein ish le'ishto. Just like we know that in order to make shalom between a husband and his wife, namely by sota, amra Torah, shmi shenichta b'kedusha yimache al hamayim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, please take my name that was written b'kedusha and yimache al hamayim, let it dissolve in water, and she'll drink the mei sota. So then, halalu shematilin kina ve'eva ve'sachrus ben Yisrael avin shebashmayim alachas kama v'kama. If for the sake of shalom, we're going to say that we're allowed to dissolve Hashem's name, then that's for shalom. What about the people who are generating the opposite of shalom? They're causing dissension among the Jewish people. They're trying to draw people away. So there, alachas kama v'kama. So the Gemara presents the Kal v'chomer, a strong one. Ve'aleim amar David halom isanecha Hashem esneu v'izchomemecha eskota tachle sina sinesim le'oivim hayuli. They are my enemies. And just like we are not allowed to save these Sifrei Minus, just like we're not allowed to save them from the fire, these heretical works, you're not allowed to save it from any other circumstances either. You see it floating in the river, let it go. No problem at all. If it's Sifrei Minus, it's Sifrei Minus. Ba'amine, this should be Rav Yosef. Ba'amine Rav Yosef bar Chanan me Rabbi Abo. Hani Sifrei de Be'avidan matzilin. The books that were written in Be'avidan, we do save them. Oh, sorry, it's a question mark. Matzilin or something me'adzleko ein matzilin. Do we save them? Do we not? What is the Be'avidan? Take a look at Rashi, the first of the longest lines, directly below where we are. The Be'avidan. Svarim shekasvo lehem haminim lehisvakeach im Yisrael. These were books that were written by heretics to fight with the Jewish people. And the place where they had debates about it, where they, the forum, they would all sit around and they would talk about the latest heretical thoughts. So that the place was called Be'avidan. So do we say that those Sfarim that were brought there, do we say that they're Matzilin? Do we say that they're not Matzilin? Says the Gemara. The first answer is, who was talking here? So the first answer is that Rabbi Abahu was answering in V'lav v'raf yaviyadeh. We saw this phrase now for the second time in Shas, that yes, no, the answer was weak. He wasn't so sure. Rav lo azil lebe'avidan v'kol shekain lebe'nitzrafei. Rav would not go to the Be'azil and to Be'avidan, to this place where they had these debates, and all the more so the Kol Shekain the Be'nitzrafei, even more so to the place where they the Bein Nitzrafa is the name of a different Avodah Zarah. That's Rashi on the second of the widest lines, toward the end of the line. The Bein Nitzrafa, Avodah Zarah, he certainly wouldn't go there either. Shmuel, in contrast to Rav, the Bein Nitzrafa lo Azil, but Lebe'avidan Azil. But he would go to the Be'avidan. This is kind of getting into the shaila of whether or not that place is usher to be in. So we do typically assume, again, minus the circumstances quoted in your Dekuf and Zayin Sif phase, like we just learned, that if there's an emergency, you're allowed to step into a church. But otherwise, we do treat that room as a base Avodah Zarah to some degree. It's just not Yeharik Val Yavor. So therefore, when there's a sakana, you're allowed to go in there. So we have to be careful. We have to know these dinim for God forbid scenarios. And here is how it's playing out. Because Rab didn't go even to the Be'avidan, which was more kal, less bad, I should say, than the Bein Yitzrafeh, and Shmuel would go to Be'avidan. Amru leila Rava, and then they said to Rava, "My time lo asis leBe'avidan. Why would it be, Rava, that you don't go to the Be'avidan?" By the way, the Gemara never says this. The Gemara just assumes it because above it said Rav and Shmuel. It doesn't say that Rava didn't go, but clearly that was the case that Rava didn't go. Rava didn't live at the same time of Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel were early Amoraim, first generation of Amoraim, so they lived around the year 220, 230, 240, 250, and Rava was about 100 years or so later, give or take. So they didn't need, they were not having the same conversation together. But clearly Rava would not go to this place. So Amar Lahu, he said to them. I skipped the line. Amrule, they said to him, the Rava, my time lo astis leve abidan. Amarlu, he said back to them, Dikla planya ika beorcha bekashi. There's a huge tree that's in the way. It's a tircha. I don't want to go. Neakre, we can move it for you. We can get a tree removal company. They'll pull that tree right out of the ground. No problem at all. No, duchte kashali. The place is difficult for me. I'm not interested. It was all a smokescreen. He didn't want to be there. It's not a place that he wanted to be. So it says the Gemara, Mar Bar Yosef Amar, Ana Minahu Ana, I understand these people, V'lo mistafina minahu, and I am not scared of them. Zimnachada Azel Ba'u Lisakune. And one time he actually went there and he endangered himself. This always presents a question that when one is having these difficult conversations with people who have radical views, how do we keep ourselves safe? So two things. First of all, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, it says Dama lahashiv lahapikores, that you know we have to know how to answer an apikores. One fascinating spin on that Mishnah is that we are the apikores, and we need to know how to answer our own peklach, our own kashyas on yadus. Dama lahashiv lahapikores. I need pshat in the things that are difficult for me. That's number one. Number two, as a general rule, these types of conversations where you're engaging in people who are heretical, don't move them very far. It may help you, but it certainly won't move them very far. And if you are at risk of hurting your own Yiddishkeit, it is probably not worth it. Says the Gemara on the bottom, the second line from the bottom, Kufta Zayin and Aleph, a story. Ima Shalom, a person's name. Ima Shalom, Debisu de Rabbi Eliezer. He was the wife of Rabbi Eliezer, Achse de Rabban Gamliel Havoy, and she was the brother of Rabban Gamliel. And in their neighborhood, Hahu Philosopha, there was this philosopher, Vishavavuse, in the neighborhood. Rashi, last Rashi on the page, Philosopha, Min, he was a heretic. Does that mean that all philosophers are heretics? I don't think that's Pshat in Rashi. But nevertheless, this particular philosopher was a heretic, turning to the top of Kuf Tez Zayin Amud Beis. To have a Shakil Shema, he would hold about his name the way he carried himself, the image that he portrayed to others was the Lo Makabel Shochad, that he would never take a shochad, he would never take a bribe. So they wanted to stick around with him a little bit. So here's what happened. She, under the table, she slipped a golden candlestick, and she gave him a little bit of a gift and said, you hold on to this. And then she went in to this philosopher to get his opinion on the matter. Well, on a different matter. What was the matter she brought up? Third line. I want to get a part of the Yerusha of my family. What do you have to say? So Amar Lahu Plugo, you guys should split it. You and your brother, you and Rabban Gamliel, Ima Shalom, and Rabban Gamliel, brother and sister, you guys should really be splitting. Amar Le, he said to him, wait 1 second, Ksivlan b'makom b'rabarata lo sirus, that the girl doesn't get the same exact under the circumstances, so then what's the deal? Amar Le, min yoma de galison me arachon, from the day that you were exiled from your land, is netalis oraisa de Moshe, the Torah of Moshe was taken, v'is yahavis sifra acharisi, and there is another book that has been put into play. And it says there that the brother and the sister, they get the same exact Yerusha. Part A. Part B of the story goes like this. Then he, Rabban Gamliel, went over to this philosopher, and what did he give him? Chamra Luba. He gave him a Lubian donkey. We learned about this many months ago in regards to some aspects of Hotzah. Amar Lahu, Shafilis L'Sefe the Sifra, all of a sudden the philosopher pivoted. He's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot. We need to go to the end of the book. Uchsive Ana Lo Lemifchas Min Oraisa de Moshe Asisi, V'lo Osife Al Oraisa de Moshe Asisi. No, who am I to add or to detract from Moshe's Torah? Uchsive B'makom B'ra B'rata Lo Seirus. And there it says that the Yerusha is not the same between the two of them. And so he pivoted. He went back to what Rabbi Gamliel wanted, basically. Every time he got a gift, he just did whatever the person wanted. So much for his good name. Amr Alei, she said back to him, a little tongue-in-cheek, Nehor Nehorecha Kishraga. Wow, you are lit up like a candle. Look at you. She gave him the candlestick. Amr Alei, Rabbi Gamliel, Asa Chamra Ubatash Lishraga. Yeah, it's true, but I think that the Lubian donkey that I gave him kicked over the candle. So obviously they were just trying to upslug this person who clearly didn't have a lot of integrity, and his answers changed very, very quickly once he was given that which he desired. Continuing at the Tudat, Ma'im Koren, we learned in our Mishnah that there's a limitation to reading from Ksuvim on Shabbos, so we'll have to see what this means. Amar Rav says, Lo shanu el bizman beis hamedrash. That's only true. When do we limit someone reading out of a scroll of Ksuvim on Shabbos? That's when the Rav in the Beis Medrash is giving the Shabbos afternoon shir. But when there's no shir going on, says Rav, it's perfectly permissible to read out of the scroll. Shmuel says, no, even when there's no shir going on in the Beis Medrash, you're not allowed to learn from a scroll of Ksuvim. Eini, is that true? Just about halfway down, Kufta Zayin and Biz. Is that true? Shmuel was the Rosh Yeshiva in Naharda. Uve Naharda, Paske Sidra B'Ksuvim B'Mincha Sada Shabsa. At some point in history, they used to actually lane Haftarah by Shabbos Mincha. And what were they laning from? At times, sometimes they'd be laning from these Sfarim. So how could it be that that's the case? How could it be that Shmuel would categorically forbid reading it if he allowed in Naharda, in his own city, that they were laning Haftarah from these Sfarim? How could it be? Says the Gemara, Elai Itmar, Hachi Itmar. This is really pshat in their machlokes. Omar Rav, Lo Shanu, when do we say you're not allowed to learn out of the Ksuvim scroll on Shabbos, El B'makom Beis HaMedrash, in the place of the Beis Medrash? Aval Shelo B'makom Beis HaMedrash, if you're at home, you're not in shul, then it's permissible to read it. Ushmuel Amar, Bein B'makom Beis HaMedrash, Bein Shelo B'makom Beis HaMedrash. Whether or not the location is not relevant, whether you're present at the Beis Medrash or not. Bisman Beis HaMedrash Ein Koren. When the Rav is giving his drasha, we do not read it. Shelo Bisman Beis HaMedrash Koren. And if it is Shelo Bisman Beis HaMedrash, if it's not at the time that the shir is taking place, then it's permissible to read out of it. And this, in fact, supports the Shita of Shmuel, this new iteration. How so? Because of what we just learned about Shmuel and Naharda. Because they used to lane out of that scroll on Shabbos afternoon. So now we see this nice, clean explanation of how the machlokas of Rav and Shmuel fits into our Mishnah, where Rav says that it's only limited in the physical place, and Shmuel says it's not limited to the physical place. It just depends if the Rav's giving a drasha. If the Rav's giving a drasha, it's not right that you should be sitting there learning Sefer Ksuvim. You should be learning the Isser V'Heter. You should be learning the halacha that the Rav is teaching. Otherwise, it's permissible. Rav Ashi, however, went back to the first version of the Machlokes, where Shmuel categorically forbade people from learning from a scroll of Ksuvim. Rav Ashi Amar La'olam Kedamran Meikara, like the first version where Shmuel forbids it entirely. How so? Ushmuel Karav Nechemya. We have a precedent in the Tanaim for Shmuel, for the first version of Shmuel, where we see that one is not allowed to read out of the Sefer Ksuvim at all. How so? The Tanya, the Brisa writes 2/3 of the way down. Even though it's true that one said you're not allowed to simply read from the Ksuvim, aval, however, shonen bahen v'darshan bahen. You can learn. You can mamish learn it up like a sugya. You can get in there and you can quote midrashim. You just can't read it straight up, but you could learn it like you would pick up a daf gemara and you'd pick it apart. So you can do that with the ksuvim as well. Nitzrach lepasuk. You need to look up a pasuk, no problem. Maybe v'rilabo. Amar Reb Nechemya. That was a Tanna Kama shita. Amar Reb Nechemya. Mipnei ma amru kisvei kodesh ein koren bahen. Mipnei sheyomru bekisvei kodesh ein koren. Kidei sheyomru bekisvei kodesh. HaKodesh in Koren, V'kol Shekem B'shtari Hedyotos. Says Rav Nechemya, the Chachamim made a limitation. They made it that you're not allowed to even read from a Sefer Ksuvim in a scroll on Shabbos at all, so that you would be absolutely clear that you are not allowed to read Shtari Hedyotos, secular documents, on Shabbos. This is quoted in Shulchan Aruch, I believe, in Shin Zayin, and Simon Shin Zayin and Orach Chaim, which discusses what you're allowed to read on Shabbos, what you're not allowed to read on Shabbos. Obviously, you're not allowed to read things that are like, things that are like receipts. Those might actually be categorically muksa, whatever the case may be. But that's Rav Nechemia, and that, says Rav Ashi, was the initial understanding that we had of the Machlokas Rav and Shmuel, where Shmuel said nothing doing. That was our first version. The Gemara said, "Eini, is that true?" So the Gemara is going to now say, actually, yeah, that's how we hold, because we have a precedent that Rav Nechemia held that we were not allowed to read out of the Ksuvim whatsoever, so that we could make sure that we knew that by Shtari Hedyotos that it was going to be usher to look at those as well. Let's just learn a few more lines, starting with this new Mishnah on the first of the longest lines, Kufta Zayin and Beis. Matzilin tik hasefer im hasefer. You can save whatever you're allowed to save on Shabbos. Any sefer you're allowed to save can be saved in its bag, im hasefer. V'tikat tefillin im hatefillin. And you don't have to take out the tefillin from its bag. You can grab the whole thing, and this is a chiddush. V'yafal bi sheish besochan ma'os. Even if there's money inside, no problem. We'll have to get into all of this. Ulehechan matzilin osan. How far can he carry it out of his house? So it says the Gemara, lemavui she'eino mefulash. The Tanna Kama holds only into a mavui that's eino mefulash, meaning that the road doesn't go all the way through. Namely, it's not a reshus harabim d'oraisa. It's just a carmel. It's ben b'seira omer afle mefulash. The Meseira says, even if it's going to be to an area in which the mavui is mefulash, where there's a road that traverses the entire mavui beginning to end. In the city of Chicago, I've mentioned this before, that may be the street of Western, which traverses the whole city, extremely long road. So that raises the bar for those who hold that it might be usher to carry in the city of Chicago. One of the reasons is because we have a street like Western, subject to a separate discussion for another time. Tana Rabbanon, the rabbis taught us, what happens if Arba Asar, the 14th of Nisan, the day upon which we are obligated to bring the Korban Pesach for the sake of Pesach. So that we have to bring that Korban on Pesach. But Tan Rabbanan, Arba Asar Shechalios B'Shabbos, the 14th of Nisan fell out on Shabbos. So how do we navigate some of the halachic components of the Shechita? Obviously, you're allowed to do the Shechita itself. That's mamash pasuk in the Torah, and we can trump Shabbos with it, no problem. However, when it comes to skinning the animal to access some of the fats, how much are we allowed to deskin? How much are we allowed to skin the animal? Says the Gemara as follows: we are allowed to peel it up till the heart, up until the chest. You're allowed to skin the whole animal. Asks the Gemara, I understand his shita. You're doing what you need. You're peeling back enough so you can get to the fat so you can bring the korban properly. Got it. I understand your shita. However, according to the shita of the Rabbanan, that you're allowed to be mafshit the whole animal, you can skin the whole animal. Why is that allowed? My taima. Why would that be allowed? You're doing more than is necessary. Answers the Gemara. Amar Rabba Bar Barchan Amar Yochanan Amar Kra Kol Pa'al Hashem L'Ma'aneu. Everything is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is this for Hashem piece? What are you talking about? Yosef Amar Shelo Yasriach, because the skin, the leather, it can start to smell if you don't get rid of it. So that's why we're allowed to take it off. Rava has a different reason. Rava Amar Shelo Yehei Koche Shamayim Mutalan Kinevela, so that you don't have this holy animal, that is mutal like an avela that looks a little bit disgusting. So therefore, you're allowed to peel the whole animal. My beinayu, my nafkamina. What's the difference between these two shitas? Answers the Gemara. Ika beinayu demanach apesora de dahava. If you put the animal down on a golden table, because there's no bizayon in that case. It may smell bad, but there's no bizayon in that case. So that would support one shita but not the other. Inami yoma the istana. Another day, another scenario is a day when it's super windy. And when it's super windy outside, so then one is allowed potentially to leave it there because it won't smell bad because the wind will take it away. So that would be the chiluk between these two answers. One answer of Rabba Shelo Yasriach, and the other of Rav Yosef, Shelo Yasriach, and Shelo Yehei Kodesh Shamayim Mutalim Kinevela, which is the answer of Rabba, and the two nafkaminas as mentioned. And tomorrow night we're going to pick up at Rabbi Yishmael, about 7 lines from the bottom of Kufta Zayin and Beis. We'll stop here, wishing each of you a beautiful night.